Frontline is a presentation of the Documentary Consortium.
Tonight on Frontline, the intimate and powerful story of one family's struggle with life and death.
I really didn't know that such life existed as what Nancy's lived these last 4.5 years.
For 5 years, Frontline followed the Cruzan family as they fought to disconnect the life support that kept their daughter Nancy alive.
If the decision's wrong, if we're playing God, then I'll have to live with that, and I'm willing to.
In 2 previous programs, we tracked the legal battle from local Missouri courts all the way to the United States Supreme Court and heard the arguments in its first right-to-die case.
Every patient in this country today could have a life that hangs in the balance on the basis of what the Supreme Court decides about it.
Oh, God, hear our voice and intervene by the power of the Spirit of God. Glory to God, work a miracle on our behalf.
But tonight we tell a different story of the private struggle behind that public battle, the story of one family's love and commitment to their daughter.
We don't need the preachers, we don't need the spectators or the this, that, or the news media or anyone else that we can pull together and we can we'll take care of her.
With funding provided by the financial support of viewers like you and by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. This is Frontline.
It was 2:25 on a Tuesday morning, and the phone rang. I picked up the phone, and I just felt like it couldn't be. There had to be some mistake.
And Christy called us, and then Joyce and Christy and I went on to Freeman Hospital in Joplin.
There was a head injury, and that was really all I knew.
We were in the emergency room area, waiting area right there, and then when they brought Nancy in,
I knew it couldn't be her because this person on this stretcher was not Nancy until I saw her socks.
And I kept waiting for him to bring Nancy in. I thought, what's going on here? But it was Nancy.
And we waited. She was in surgery quite a while, and when the nurse finally came out and said she's going to be all right.
When the nurse came out and said that she was going to be all right, I turned, I believe, to Joyce, and I said, I feel like I can breathe again. going east, and she went off on this side of the road about 300 feet down from that mailbox. I imagine the car came to rest right about along in here. It was upside down. It was on this side of the lane, and Nancy was lying face down on the other side, just on the other side of the lane and about 20 feet down from the car that way. They said it was approximately 35 feet from the car, probably lying there just about where the lane curves. I went then and talked to the trooper that worked the accident, and then I also got a copy of the accident report from the state. Vital signs on arriving: blood pressure 0/0, pulse 0, respiration 0. On the report it said code blue, clinical save. But I asked them what a clinical save was, and they said they have maybe 2 or 3 times a year, and it's when someone has gone into cardiopulmonary arrest, I think is the term they used, and that they're able to bring them back. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
Through the first month or so, they did a lot of tests, CAT scans and EEGs, trying to determine the amount of injury and how permanent it might be. It looked like she'd gone without breathing for quite some time. And as time progressed, the prognosis looked worse and worse. I really didn't know that such life existed as what Nancy's lived these last 4.5 years. She would have been 30, or will be 30, on Monday. Happy birthday. Hi, Nancy. No, she's not. Hi. Happy birthday. Big 3-0. Oh, we have presents. See what Gran made for you? Big old pizza.
I remember as a baby and as a toddler, almost everything the kid did was funny. She was kind of impish, and everybody teased her a lot because she egged it on. She had a lot of friends. She got along well with her peers. She never saw a stranger, but she was a lot more outgoing than I ever was, or than the other kids ever were.
Sometimes I think she worked to embarrass me. That was her main goal in life when we were younger, was to give me a hard time.
She was a twirler. She was, in her junior year in high school, she was co-captain, and we'd go to parades everywhere, and I'd take pictures of her, and I'm kind of emotional, and particularly with music, marching band music, and my eyes would fill up. I couldn't hardly see through the camera.
And she had fun. I think she enjoyed life as much as anybody I ever have been around.
Then in the later years, especially after I had the girls, she was a second mother to them. She spent a lot of time with them. They dearly loved her to come over and to spend time with her.
She's just the greatest aunt anybody could ever have in the whole world. And she's funny. She'll let you do anything, but to where you won't get hurt.
She was ornery, and she was funny to be around, and she was a good aunt. I think it was just a couple of years ago that we really realized that Nancy wasn't going to get any better, and that she wasn't, that this had happened, and, all this stuff it wasn't going to get any better.
It is an experience that nobody wants to know. It's like, you don't want your mother to die. You think, oh, that'll never happen, and it won't happen till it does. That's just nature, I guess. I guess she was so good, God wanted her early.
We found birthday cards. Here's a special one. It's got a little chipmunk and a little bird and pretty flowers. To a very special aunt. To lovingly tell you it's certainly true. Aunts just don't come any nicer than you. Happy birthday with love. Angie and Miranda. And lots of X's and O's. I've never, since the accident, thought that she was aware that I was there. I talked to her as though she would know, and God knows I've looked, because I wish I could say, yeah, I've seen it, but I've never seen any kind of thought process in her. How about we find some more?
You see that? It smells good.
I wanted to see something that I knew was a response. Not something that, you might see something once, but it couldn't be repeated. Well, I thought when Nancy gets up and says, "Hi, Dad," then I'll know she's better.
And we would sit sometimes and hold hands and touch her and will strength to her body from ours. It just had to work because, I just couldn't be this way. And frankly, we begged her, pleaded, tried to bribe her, this kind of thing, we'll do anything, just respond, you've got to, we need you, you can't do this.
Trade places with her.
Right. I begged her. I told her I would give her my car. I would do anything if she would just come back. One of the last things she said to people that saw her, that she had to take care of me. And I felt that if she could come back at all, she would come back to me, to help me, to be there for me. But it's never been, no matter how much I needed her. She just couldn't do it.
Dr. Davis, telephone, please.
This particular floor is very unique because this floor has a lot of life support patients on it. We usually get them after they've been ill for a very long time, and there's no other placement for them. We've had patients here up to 10 years. We have to deal with the after effects of what heroics are done on the roadside, and in other hospitals we get the after effects.
In her case, I think she was without any oxygen or adequate oxygen for about 20 minutes, and that really led to her severe brain injury. Now this is a state that we call a vegetative state, When you are in a vegetative state, you don't understand what people say to you. You open your eyes, look around, but you don't really react to stimuli, And this is where she is, in that state where she doesn't really understand or hear. She can hear but doesn't understand. She can see but they have no meaning to her, Once you're in a vegetative state, there's really no way of recovery. Now, as far as the lifespan of the patient, they usually, unfortunately, they can live so long as you can prevent their infections. If you treat all their infections, you give them good nutrition, good support, life support, yes, they can live for years and years.
What do you have it today? Steak?
I smell light.
Boy, she sure responds to that noise.
Yeah, she does. I can come in here.
In a state like that, unfortunately, the patient has to be tube fed.
Speak to her all at once.
So we put a tube in their stomach or in their upper intestine to feed them daily. They remain in that state, permanently, and with no further improvement.
I signed the consent form to begin the artificial feeding of Nancy, to have the tube implanted. Looking back on it, I would like to have let her go on that night, because our Nancy died that night. We've got her body left, but she has no dignity whatsoever there, and she was a very, very proud, independent person, and you would see what was left there, and you wondered why. Well, what's the purpose in this?
It's like when Nancy would get real sick. She was pretty sick a couple of times, had pneumonia, high temperature, and I don't know that I prayed that she would die, but I hoped she would. And that's backwards, When they're sick, you want them to get well, and yet I don't want her to be sick, but I wish she'd die.
Now then, does anyone else have anything that we may have missed that you'd like to talk about?
When our daughter was in the nursing home, seizures was her problem, and her heart stopped beating. And they said she had started changing colors before they got it going again.
Well, our daughter, after a 3-hour seizure in Cox Hospital in Springfield, so they put her on the machine. Unfortunately, she did come out of it to a certain extent, but for the last few years, she's gotten worse.
I wonder sometimes if that doesn't make the smaller stresses of everyday living even harder for you to bear when you have this tremendous thing that you're trying to cope with that always hovers over and above everything else.
You think I'd be out of place if I touched a little bit on her?
Not at all. That's what this period is for. We're here to support you.
Well, probably most of you know that, or have heard that we have, well, I didn't think this would happen this way. Joyce and I have begun a procedure to
have the life support for Nancy withdrawn. We've asked the hospital to do it, and they are not able to without some kind of a court order, which we understand. So what we're going to have to do is go through a legal procedure to get permission to withdraw the life support, which in Nancy's case is hydration and nutrition rather than a respirator.
As far as being able to give you a reason why we're doing this, the only thing I could say that is if you knew Nancy the way we did,
show us in this way, that you would understand why we feel like we are doing what she would have us to do.
Joe?
Yes.
Bill Cole.
Glad to know you.
Good to meet you,
Joyce.
Joyce.
Glad to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Yeah.
All right. It's going to be a very expensive procedure, and frankly, we couldn't afford to do it. We have our attorney in Joplin that we've dealt with. Well, they suggested that we go try the American Civil Liberties Union in Kansas City, so I contacted them, and they in turn firm that's Shook, Hardy, and Bacon.
What I thought we'd do this morning, other than just get acquainted, was just to get a little bit of the factual background. We've talked on the phone. The big case that everybody knows something about was the Karen Quinlan case. But here with the Cruzans, this is the first case in Missouri. And it's not something, and it shouldn't be something that our courts or our legislature resolves lightly or without a full hearing on what both sides of the question are. Are you in contact now with her doctors? Have you talked with any of them about what would happen if the G-tube is removed?
We talked with our physician, our personal physician, about that.
And what did he tell you?
The main thing we asked him was about her death, if it would be traumatic. And he said, in my opinion, for her, no. For you and your wife, yes. And by that, I'm not really sure what he meant. Except maybe having to watch her die and the process that we'd have to go to bring it about.
We have to establish somehow that this is in the best interest of Nancy. You do that by looking at statements she made in her life. If she made clear statements that she wouldn't want these kinds of things, then that's strong evidence to the court. You do that by looking to the substituted judgment of loved ones and people close to her. Say to them, you knew Nancy, you know what she was like. She's not able to tell us now what she would have wanted. What do you think she would have wanted?
I don't remember the first time it was brought up or brought up with Christy, but I remember Christy saying, I know exactly, if we could call Nancy up and ask her, I know what she'd say.
She would say, look, I realize it's hard on everyone else, but let me go. I've got other things to do. I've got other places to go. So turn me loose.
The Cruzans had sent the letter officially asking that this be done. This was discussed with the Department of Health attorney, and the answer came back that the law says, no, we can't do it. We know that we can unplug a machine. That's been talked about in so many places. TV shows have shown that. That isn't nearly so hard for us to accept. But the fact that we starve somebody to death, we don't do that. That's beyond our ability to think, even at this point in Missouri.
A question like this, you're going to get views both ways, certainly.
No company. Looks like you need your hair brushed.
Nancy, we brought a fellow by the name of Bill Colby up with us. He's the one that's going to represent us in this thing that we've talked about before.
Nancy?
I don't think she's real impressed.
Is this how she appears each time you come?
Yeah, this is it.
Does her facial expression ever change?
No, not unless, if there's pain or something like that.
To see the two without
It's got water in it now, but it's kind of on the side.
I'd never seen a person in a persistent vegetative state before. I knew from talking with Joe and Joyce that she wasn't in a completely still, closed-eyed, comatose state, and that she had certain reflexive brainstem functions. That in the abstract, thinking of it medically, is one thing. To walk in and see her with eyes opened, her eyes blinking. It was a very sobering experience for me to go there and see her, and it made me appreciate all the more what this family is going through.
They're pushing for something that many people, I think people even around them here today, are telling them, no, you can't do that, because we haven't faced that situation. Nobody has been willing to make that decision in a case like Nancy's.
I wouldn't want to hold back food or liquids. Never. I want to come out of this without a guilt complex. And I think do everything. I think nature will take care of that. Time will take care of it. And we'll just keep the course.
I couldn't do that because every time I'd think of sitting down to a meal, I'd think of my daughter laying up there not having anything to eat, and that would bother me. It bothered me a lot. Yes, you, Debbie. Yeah, Mama always going to take care of you. Yes, I am. I'm always going to take care of you.
There have been times that, I've thought, how can you murder your own child? Our decision was based on what we felt like that Nancy would want, and that's all we have to justify. That if the decision's wrong, if we're playing God, then I'll have to live with that, and I'm willing to.
I think you're shaking.
Well, I'm shaking. I don't know why. Just hope we can get our point across. Hope they care enough.
We'll have today to just kind of sit back and watch.
She'd be armed and ready today.
Right. I can just see her. Walking there like she owns the courtroom.
Yeah.
Just daring anybody to look cross-eyed at her.
The first correspondence that we had from the Department of Health, it seemed that it was going to be a friendly suit, but then when the Attorney General's office got into, I can't say that they became adversarial, but it took a different tone, I felt.
Hi, how are you? We think in this case, to the extent that the state law speaks in Missouri, it speaks of a policy which will not deny food or water. We believe the legislature has spoken and that the public policy that they have articulated is one which would not allow this family to do what they're seeking to do.
May it please the court. If Nancy could come before this court today, she would say to you, stop what is happening to me, stop what is happening to the family that I love. I don't want to be preserved on this machine any longer. Let me die with dignity. She has a fundamental right to be free from that kind of medical treatment if she is.
Get that off of me, I'm not tell you.
I don't know. If he said no, you can't do this, then it would be a continued fight. If he said yes, you can, then Nancy would have to die. We would have to go through that process. I really felt like we couldn't win either way.
You're welcome. See you tomorrow.
think you'll accept what I have.
Right. Thank you very much.
All right.
We'll see you later.
This be all right. You want me to read all of it or go through it?
Just read the part that tells what it is first.
Well, let's see, there's Do you want me to just find what?
Just find that first and see. I thought it'd be at the front. Well, I still haven't found it. Okay.
It is a fundamental right expressed in our Constitution as the right of liberty, which permits an individual to refuse or direct the withholding or withdrawal of artificial death prolonging procedures. The employees of the state of Missouri are directed to cause the request of the court guardians to withdraw nutrition and hydration to be carried out. Such a request, having court approval, shall be taken the same as a request for discontinuation of any other form of artificial life support systems. The care and compassion of the respondents and their associates have already shown our ward and her guardians incomparable by any standards, are in keeping with the overwhelming tragedy that has been visited upon all of us, us all. So, what does it say?
It says that she does.
Says they are directed to cause the request of the co-guardians to withdraw nutrition or hydration to be carried out. So, if that's winning, we won.
Well, we were surprised that here in extremely conservative southwest Missouri, where nothing ever happens first, the judge came out with a decision like that. I talked to one nurse last night who was one of the nurses that directly is responsible for her care. And I mentioned that I was a little surprised, and she said, I was shocked. She said, I just never thought it would happen.
To me, it's very inhumane to do. And I can't believe that any judge or any human would take it within their self to say, we're going to take this feeding away from this human being. I just can't believe that anybody will do that.
To take away that life that you've saved, somebody's making some decisions that I don't feel should be in their hands.
Yeah, Nancy, we got a decision from Judge Teal today. He ruled that you do have constitutional rights to determine your own treatment. So it was all favorable.
I don't think that you know what we're talking about. I don't have any way of knowing that. But if you do, we've talked about this a lot before. And you know why we're doing it. We've still got a ways to go, but at least we won the first round. I really didn't realize that this could go on and on and on and on, and I really didn't think that it would.
Well, we think that this is a good case for the state of Missouri to be involved in, and I think that win or lose, we will be involved in an appeal until we get an ultimate determination on what this family can do.
I don't think that it's fair that it has to be a public debate. These are decisions that I feel like families should make privately with the help of their doctor. But unfortunately, at this point in time in the state of Missouri, that's not an option that's available. And Nancy wouldn't be the kind of person to just sit back and do nothing.
Judge Robertson kept asking you, though, for a legal basis to go ahead and do what
statute, how you see that applying in this case.
I don't think it does apply. It does.
I don't like having people shove cameras in my face and wanting to take pictures, because you think, am I supposed to be happy, or am I supposed to be standing here looking real depressed, or what am I supposed to do? So I just kind of stood there thinking, I hope I'm doing the right thing.
Obviously, I hope they go in our favor, but I'm just kind of dreading the day that we'll have to do it, or the days, because, that'll just be like we're losing Nancy, but I think we'll probably see her somewhere else. So, and she'll look like Nancy. She'll act like Nancy. She'll be Nancy. So that's what I hope will come out of this.
But I hope they say okay, so we can get this over with.
Bill Colby called about 4 o'clock. I had just gotten off work and I was running some errands. And when I came home, the girls were here and my mom was here. And when I opened the back door, I could tell something was wrong. And I wouldn't step on into the house. I asked them what was wrong, and they all looked at me. And I asked them again, and by that time, I was crying. And I thought perhaps Nancy had died. I just didn't know. It never occurred to me that they had ruled against us, that they had overturned Judge Teal's decision.
The reason they stated was that we did not have the right as guardians to make that decision for Nancy. And, in other words, where did they get the authority to make that decision? Because they did make a decision. There had to be a decision made to let her live or to let her die. We wanted to let her die. They made the decision that she should live.
She would not want that. And yet somebody out here says it doesn't matter what she wants. It doesn't matter what you want as her family. The state says life is precious. Therefore, it doesn't matter what you want. It doesn't matter at all. Nancy doesn't matter. Cold out there. My hands are probably cold, aren't they? She just, I don't know. To me, she looks worse all the time. And she would be very upset by the way she is.
It's getting more and more and more difficult to go up and see her because that's not Nancy up there. It doesn't even look like Nancy anymore.
My dad has always been a fixer. He's always wanted to make things right. I think he feels so helpless.
It's made a very pessimistic, angry person out of me, frustrated in that I really feel like that what I was doing or trying to do was what Nancy would want us to do. But I feel like I'm in a sack and I want to get out of it, but I don't know where to hit. I don't know, I don't know which way to turn. I don't know what to do. Sometimes I've wondered, is my obsession for me now, that I'm not going to take no for an answer, or is it for Nancy? And in reality, I know that it's not for Nancy. It's for everyone that's in this condition, and to have the state come in and say, no, you can't do this.
It's not over till it's over, and it's not over yet. We still have the U.S. Supreme Court, and I'm hopeful that they will have the courage, fortitude, foresight, whatever you want to call it, to see that this needs to be addressed.
every court in the country that has addressed this issue would allow them to have that tube removed and allow them to die with dignity. Missouri certainly is out there marching by itself against the trend of decisions everywhere.
That life is sacred and we should not indiscriminately take away life. Who are we to play God? We are not qualified to play God. That seat is already open.
Good morning. My name's Bill Webster, or William Webster, Missouri Attorney General's office. I think the argument went well. Frankly, we're all treading on fairly new ground here. And there's no other federal law which has ever suggested there is a right that goes this far.
The constitutional right is the right to not have the state intrude into your body unless they give a good reason for doing it. They've given no reason here.
Yes. Thank you very much. Nancy's statement to her friend.
If you get into my granddaughters, there's going to be a problem. Get out of the way. I keep thinking, what am I doing here? Why me? I feel like that I'm at the Super Bowl game, and they've got me clear back up in the highest bleacher in the poorest seat in the house. And these other two teams are playing, and they're playing with my football. And there's not a damn thing I can do about it, except just watch.
With Peter Jennings. Good evening. We begin tonight with two of the most difficult decisions that a person ever faces. Whether to have an abortion and whether to end the life of someone who is being kept alive only by artificial means. Today, the Supreme Court has set some limits. First, the right to die. The Supreme Court ruled today the Cruzans had no constitutional right to remove their daughter's feeding tube. Rather, states have the right to insist on clear and convincing evidence is what the victim would want. Chief Justice William Rehnquist said the parents' wishes were outweighed by the state's interest in the preservation and protection of human life and the state's right to guard against potential abuse.
I was sorry that they hadn't gotten us out of it, but once Bill explained all that it said, I felt like maybe they had given us an out in that we could go back into court and introduce new evidence.
We went back into court essentially with the testimony of three people who contacted the Cruzans after the argument at the U.S. Supreme Court, called them to say, you do not know me, but I knew Nancy. We talked about these issues, and we just wanted you to know that you are doing what she would have wanted. That was very compelling testimony.
To you by Citibank.
5:49, we go to Mike Schneider. He'll take a quick look at the stories making news this morning. Mike.
Thank you, Charlie. In Missouri, a judge decides today whether the Cruzan family can remove their daughter from life support systems. Nancy Cruzan has been in a coma ever since a car accident 7 years ago. And finally, also rose last month.
Now then, poinsettias. Well, this is a big day.
Dad was in Mount Vernon waiting to hear from Colby as to what the decision was. We knew that he was supposed to bring the decision over to the house.
Well, I feel like to get down. I guess we'll see what happens. I'm not nervous. Mr. Colby? Yes, I am. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Everyone okay there? You know, right, understandable. Right. Well, we got a green light. It's time. Must be official now. Well, you know as well as I do that we're doing right things.
I know. Sometimes right's not always easy.
No. Did it all come out the way we wanted, or stipulations, or things that...
No. Why don't we go, let's go talk to Lampkins.
There was a lot of people that didn't want to do it, including myself. I would rather not be involved with that portion of it. So we had the discussion with Mr. Colby and the family, and I made calls to our attorney, and finally the answer came back that yes, it's to be done here.
I walked up to the desk, and it was announced that we are going to move her. And we said, now? And they said, yes.
At first it was like it was unreal, and then as I was going down the hall, I kind of got mad. I had anger.
Sorry, Nancy.
It's something that I didn't want to do, but at the same time I still am obligated. I think maybe that was my reason for anger in the movie, is that I knew that it had to be done and someone was going to do it. And maybe this was my last contact with her, so yes, I'd do it, but yet I was angry because of it.
Nan was moved over to a hospice portion of the hospital. And I remember we went kind of a back way to avoid the media and a lot of the people there in the hospital. And we got over to the hospice unit and met the nurse that was taking care of the unit for the evening.
When this whole thing started, we were asked our opinions, our feelings, and we spoke up. I spoke up as well in her cause and for Nancy's sake. I hadn't ever met the parents, and all I knew is that I didn't think it was right to pull out a tube and deliberately allow someone to die a slow death when, if you're going to do that, you might as well just inject them. And I held firmly to that, and I still have a lot of trouble with that. I wish that it could be quicker. This is nature's way, though. Man stopped nature a long time ago from taking its course.
It's going to be difficult. Kind of a tough couple of weeks for her, but then she'll be free. In that statement that I wrote the other day, I'll read as much of it as I can. I don't know if I can read all of it or not. So during the late fall and winter of 1986, realizing that Nancy was not going to recover and that she would not wish to continue in her present condition, I made a commitment to her to allow her to die with some dignity. On May 28, 1987, we presented a letter to the Missouri Rehabilitation Center requesting that treatment be stopped. Today, 1,295 days later, we have that court order. She was our bright, flaming star who flew through the heavens of our lives. Though brilliant, her flight was terribly short-lived. But she has left a flaming trail, a legacy that I do not think will be shortly forgotten. Because of Nancy, I suspect hundreds of thousands of people can rest free, knowing that when death beckons, they can meet it face to face with dignity, free from the fear of unwanted medical treatment, unwanted and useless medical treatment. I think this is quite an accomplishment for a 25-year-old kid, and I'm damn proud of her. I know that wherever she is today, she is looking down, beaming with pride, damned proud of her family. Now we walk with her to the door of death so that she may at last pass through and be free. I don't even know why I tried to do that. So fly away, little sister, and have fun.
I got a call at home that a group of people that were going to come storm the hospital was the words they used, and chain themselves to Nancy's bed, put the feeding tube back in.
Okay, cease all radio traffic unless necessary.
If I could get up there, and I know they've got plenty of good nurses in them, I would put the tube back in her myself. I'd hope to be able to try something like that, but we're not going to make it.
Is that what that is around your neck?
It would be needed, yes.
I have a friend upstairs, and I was trying to give her a cup of water.
Who's your friend?
Nancy Cruzan. And there are policemen up there, and they won't let me give her a cup of water. And I'm commanded by the scripture to give a friend a cup of water. That's all I want to do.
Okay, folks, as far as you can, kneel and pray as we agreed.
God help us to repent and turn back to you. Change the Cruzan's mind about this, Lord. They'll let their daughter be fed.
Father, I adore you. Lay Nancy's life before you. How she loves you. Lay Nancy's life.
I felt like threatened. I mean, not me physically and personally, but it was like almost like you had to protect Nancy.
Well, there were times that Joe leaned against the door and held it shut. Not that anybody was trying to get in, but just in case. I mean, you could hear that there was stuff going on out there.
Okay. We need everybody to clear the hallway, media and everyone. So if you all would go on out, and the ones that don't want to go out, we'll take out.
Are you moving or going?
First time that we came down here after it was disconnected, and it's just Nancy's dying is all I could think. Nancy's dying. She's laying in this bed. She's dying.
It feels, it's so different because now this is final. I mean, when I leave here today, it could be the last time I see her alive. I mean, you know there's not a tube hooked up to her, and you know she's dying. And that's what makes it really, really difficult, because we've never had anybody close to us die before.
I asked Mom if she was hungry, and she said that, no, probably not. And I asked her if she was afraid, and Mom said probably not, because Mom said that it's like riding on a bus for a long time.
It's, like when you take a long trip, you get tired of riding. It's kind of like this, maybe. Just tired of riding, like, this way. So she's almost there. You know how you can see the lights? And you're almost home. Are you scared? Yeah. Are you scared to be in here? Yeah. Oh, come here. Okay. You don't have to stay in here if you don't want to, okay? whatever you want to do. Would you like me to just shut up? Probably. But you can't really say that, huh? I'll shut up, okay? That's probably what Nan would be saying. Just shut your mouth. Okay.
Apparently there was a press release put out this morning that her condition was deteriorating.
Nancy is still the only thing that was feverish to lose.
Right.
And
is her chest seem clear or no indication?
Heart rate regular. I think you probably noticed that her eyes are getting a little bloodshot.
Right.
Yeah.
Is that an indication that we should put more artificial tears in, or is that just?
It might
I mean,
help.
is it from
might
dryness?
Help, yeah. That may be from dryness, yes.
Okay.
I'll see you in the morning.
Talk to you later.
There's an awful lot of discussion on it among physicians and nurses. I've heard a lot of people state to this effect, you know, the statement that we don't kill our patients. We're taught in medicine to prolong life and ease suffering. And through a lot of reading and introspection and meditating, whatever you want to call it, I've come to the conclusion that sometimes they're not mutually compatible, that you cannot relieve suffering while you are prolonging life. And in a case like that, you may have to elect for one or the other.
If I was to remove food and water from my cow, they'd arrest me and put me in jail. But you take a human being that can think and eat, and they starve them to death.
She made a good remark too, I thought, because Joanne was referring to being in a vegetative state. And whoever gave that idea, that's a terrible...
It's another society's
It's a cover-up.
To put on the person.
Vegetable is going to be just like fetus was. That's the word they're going to use.
Yeah.
If it's not fully human, then you can kill it.
Yeah.
And a vegetable isn't human.
I mean, a person can't be a vegetable.
Just like
they have a soul. They have a heart. There's no way.
America has lost all sense of value for human life at all, you know, with abortion and now with this thing with Nancy.
I don't know how in the hell I got picked for this. They must think somebody must have a lot higher expectations of me than I have. I don't know whether it was fate or God or who, but whoever, he must have thought, boy, that's a cool dude down there. I'll have him go through all this crap. Let me have my daughter back and they can have all this stuff. I'll go home and prop my feet up in front of the television and watch the evening news without seeing Cruzan splashed all over it.
Yes. Would you like private?
See what she's doing.
Okay.
Before I leave for the day. Not much change from this morning.
I can't see much from yesterday. No changes yet. I was wondering, will she probably go into a true coma at some point? Possibly.
It's possible she could.
But not necessarily.
Yeah, not necessarily. But I would say that she'd become less and less responsive all along.
Right.
With the passage of time. In the sense of the word responsive, meaning that, she won't wake up as much.
Right, sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Appear to sleep more.
Yeah. Okay. We'll see you tomorrow.
Okay, thanks.
I just saw a couple of local stations come in, so they're probably getting ready to do something.
Yeah, they have a prayer meeting scheduled here in about 12 or 13 minutes, a spontaneous prayer meeting for her.
Lord Jesus, that we can see this intervention and we can see this whole type of mindset stopped, or at least, Lord, slowed down. To shake up Satan's kingdom today, Lord. Oh, Jesus, rise with mighty power and shake up Satan's kingdom. Shake up Satan's kingdom, throw a monkey wrench in this business. Bring our nation back to God, Father. Humble us and break us. Forgive the professing Christians for being so cold and heartless and stupid. Oh, God, hear our voice and intervene by the power of the Spirit of God. Glory to God. Work a miracle on her behalf and turn our hearts back to you.
Whatsoever we ask.
I think what is happening is that the employees, as well as maybe even the people in town, are feeling like we're being attacked by all these people coming in. And that means that we band together a little closer and we try to take care of each other.
It's affecting everyone. One of the gals that works here, she's not a nurse. She told me of a dream that she had last night, and this one struck me as oddly symbolic. She said she dreamed that she was walking with Nancy. Nancy was with her. And she was telling this girl that she liked to walk at night. And that's what she did. She would get out at night and walk. And this lady asked her, well, why do you walk at night? And she said, well, I'm trying to get used to my new way of life. I'm trying to get a new perspective on my life. I'm tired of the sharp objects and things that hurt me.
I had a dream about Nancy the other night. I woke up in the middle of the night and she was talking to her mother. And the thought ran through my head that, oh my goodness, wouldn't that be terrible if something like that happened? Well, that's basically a nightmare, so to speak. So, I wouldn't have thought that that would happen, but did.
I wonder later on if I'll be able to sleep at night. Wondering what's inside Nancy. She may not have a viable body that can get up and do what you and I do and be socially productive, but she has a spirit. She has a part of her that will never die. And I wonder if that part is ready.
The hardest part has been deciding how much blame I have, how much moral responsibility I have from being in charge of the whole thing. What part am I playing in her death? Am I causing it? Should I have stopped it? I couldn't have, I don't have the authority and the power to have totally stopped it. I could have slowed it down, I could have gotten myself out, but somebody else would have come in and done it. So my moral dilemma, I suppose, is how far should I have gone? And I still don't know.
Dr. Davis did say this morning that he thought Nancy's condition was serious now. However, he didn't feel like it was critical at this point. But he said if her condition deteriorated as much in the next 24 hours as it has in the last 24 hours, that it probably would be critical, or if it continues to deteriorate, it'll be fatal. The closer it gets, the more we want to draw together around her. We don't, and I'm not putting the preachers down, but we don't need the preachers. We don't need the spectators or the this, that, or the news media or anyone else. That we can pull together and we can we'll take care of her.
I'm so thankful that there were no harsh words or unkind things said that weren't resolved or anything, because I know that would be easy for that to happen in something like this. So if I'd only not said, I wish I hadn't said that, I wish I could take that back, or but I don't have any of those, and I'm real glad for that.
It's made me want to be more like Nancy. I don't know why. I don't know if because people cared about her so much, and I don't know. It feels like I want to be her replacement. I want people to care about me as much as they cared about her.
I think in a way, Nancy's sort of given us something here. She's given us. I mean, we've had to grow up a lot faster, but we've also learned a lot about life in these past 7 years. We've learned a lot about how people have to live, about pain you have to go through, and that things aren't always given to you on a silver platter, and things happen. And everything doesn't turn out the way you want it to. So in a way, Nancy hasn't been here, but she's been giving us something all this time.
Her heart rate slowed down some. It's 160. And her breathing is about 44 a minute, which is faster. Look at her collar again. much more relaxed.
Oh my gosh.
Look at that.
Oh no. I haven't seen that.
No, she's sweaty now.
Yeah.
Something she hasn't done. Either she's breaking a temper or she's getting a higher one. Let me go get the temperature. And we'll check that.
What is the fact that she's perspiring now? What
might it be?
It could be that her heart is starting to give up now. Well, I've got to go now, so I'm going to go give report.
Okay. We'll see you
pass
Thursday.
these things on. In case I don't see you.
You've been so great.
You guys are wonderful people. I'm so glad I had the opportunity to get you here just for a little bit. If I see you again, I hope I do.
Okay.
I hope I do, but you know what I mean.
Right.
And you can go by for me.
Okay, I will.
Okay.
Thank you. You've been a big help. Thank you.
Somehow I think it's all okay. It's like, I think she knows.
Her condition deteriorated through the day, Christmas Day, and considerably after about 5 o'clock. And I went in and laid down, I think, about midnight, and about 1 o'clock, Joyce called me and said that her breathing had seemed more labored. And I went in there, and we were in a room with her from then until she died at 2:47, December the 26th. Very, very peaceful. I was holding her head kind of in my arms, and Joyce and Christy were there. And she just, her breathing became slower and slower and fainter, and we all knew that finally it just stopped. Joyce said this morning, we can all go home together. And I felt that, thank God, she's free.
I don't know what I think about the afterlife, but whatever it is, she's happy. She's having fun. She's real proud of all of us, and she's keeping an eye on us all the time.
I don't know exactly what there is. If there's a heaven, I'm sure she's probably already there. I have a feeling that she's been there for a long time. Her soul, her spirit. I hope she'll be at peace or in heaven or whatever, at rest.
I don't know if I'll ever see Nancy again or not. I don't know what's going to happen after we die. But to me, the most important thing was that we had her for those 25 years. And regardless of what people say about me or what they think of my motives or whatever happens, no one can ever take that 25 years from me.
Funding for Frontline is provided by the financial support of viewers like you and by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. Frontline is produced for the Documentary Consortium by WGBH Boston, which is solely responsible for its content. For video cassette information about this program, please call this toll-free number, 1-800-328-PBS-1.
This is PBS.
Next time on Frontline, an Iraqi exile's secret journey to post-war Iraq, and a horrifying paper trail that tells the fate of more than 100,000 missing Iraqi Kurds.
We want to know two things. First of all, what happened to these people? Are they killed or not? Second, if they are killed, let's know where are they.
Saddam's killing fields, next time on Frontline.
For a printed transcript of this or any Frontline program, send $5 to Journal Graphics Incorporated, 1535 Grant Street, Denver, Colorado, 80203. To order by credit card, call 303-831-9000.